Hey, what's up? It's Jerad with State of Tech, and today I wanted to talk to you about bringing back smaller phones. Now, this has been kind of a conversation in the office here about small phones versus large phones. I think, there's something to be said for all of the different size devices that are out there. There's obviously perfect use cases for most of them. And before you get upset at me at my stance that I'm about to take, I want you to think about your use case specifically, because it's probably different than mine. And the argument I'm going to try and make may be specific to me. I don't really know. But what I really want to do is kind of just start this conversation with some of you that are interested, and we'll talk about it in the comments below this video. So I have just recently switched over to the iPhone SE. Around here we call it the iPhone SE, just because SE, throw a little accent over it, makes it more fun to say. So anyways, I just switched over to this phone. I had a 16 gig of this phone in the office. We did a unboxing of it with one of our drones, just trying to screw around and have fun. But nonetheless, we did an unboxing of it. And when I decided to transition back to the iPhone, I thought, man, it's just the wrong time of year to transition back to an iPhone. It's the end of the year product cycle for the iPhone. And so I tried to exist on a 16 gig iPhone SE for a while, which was really challenging. I ended up going and purchasing an iPhone 6s Plus. But in the last almost 2 weeks now, I've missed the small phone. At first, it was really kind of weird to get used to because the iPhone SE is a small phone. It's the size of the iPhone 5S. Obviously, phones have gotten significantly larger since then. I mean, look at the size difference between both of these phones. Yes, I know this one has a slightly thicker case on it, but nonetheless, these phones are just, the iPhone 6s Plus is a huge phone, and it's been kind of my go-to size phone for a while. But it doesn't really make sense because in the size of all of these different devices, there's really no need to have such large devices with us all the time. And here's my argument for that. When I'm out and about, I typically am using my phone for more than phone calls and text messages. I may be posting photos to Instagram or checking in on social media or answering some emails or something, or lately playing a little bit of Pokemon Go, but I don't necessarily need a giant phone screen for that. The iPhone 6s Plus is huge. It's a huge phone, and if you put a case on it that's going to protect it well, like this Pelican case, it becomes an even larger phone, and it's very hard to get in and out of your pocket. If you sit down, you've got this huge brick. You can't sit down with the phone in your pocket. It's just uncomfortable, and then you're also afraid that you might bend the phone or something like that. So for about a week and a half, or almost 2 weeks, I had a 16 gig iPhone SE, and it was the best just phone to carry around with me that I've had in a long time. It didn't get in my way. It was small. I could keep it in my pocket. It just wasn't cumbersome to keep with me. Sure, it has a smaller battery, so it doesn't last as long or whatnot, and there are features that it's missing that the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6s Plus have, but for the most part, it has all the important features that it has. Now, I'm going to do a separate video where I could talk about the iPhone SE a bit more, and for those of you that are interested, but the concept of this video is just talking about kind of going back to smaller phones. Now, I, about a couple of months ago, went through some, spiritual moment where I felt that I just needed to kind of get away from Apple for a little while and try going and trying some Windows devices. And that didn't really pan out so well for me because of the applications and the different things that I use, so I ended up back on Mac and iOS. In that process, I got rid of tablets, I got rid of phones, and all I really had was Android stuff and Windows stuff that I used personally. Now that I'm back, I'm thinking a bit more clearly and on the devices that I need and use on a day-to-day, and there's really no need to have an iPhone 6s Plus. This obviously isn't an iPad, this is a Samsung Galaxy Tab 2, but it's pretty much the exact same size as an iPad mini. I mean, the difference between these two devices, an iPhone 6s Plus and an iPad mini, in my opinion, is about the same difference between an iPhone SE and an iPhone 6s Plus. So why not carry something on you that's easier to pocket, easier to manage, and then have something like an iPhone or an iPad mini? Now, I opted to go the direction of actually just getting the smaller iPad Pro. This is the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, which is a fantastic size tablet for, using the keyboard and typing, for watching a TV show or something like that on. It's much better than holding a device in front of your face. I've noticed that when I use the smaller phone versus the iPhone 6s Plus, I can hold the iPhone 6s Plus a little bit further away from my face, but I don't end up holding it too much further away from my face than I would the smaller phone. But when you're using a tablet like this size, or even the size of an iPad mini, you can hold it even further away from your face, and it's not so obnoxious like when you're at home watching a TV show or something like that, watching some videos on YouTube. So my argument is that I think, just for portability, using a smaller phone, these phones fit and everything. I can't even get my iPhone 6s Plus to fit in some of the devices that I use these days, such as the DJI Osmo. It's just, not a decent sized device. It's too big. And I think that, the other things that I use my phone for, or that I use a device for, such as flying a drone like the DJI Phantom 4, a phone is just a little too small for flying a drone. Having an iPad or an Android tablet definitely makes that experience better. So why carry around such a large phone when you have a tablet or you have a laptop or something like that? I think that, we've gotten a little too caught up in having, the biggest display and all of that stuff, when it just becomes impractical for carrying around an everyday life. Sure, this phone doesn't have image stabilization like the iPhone 6s Plus. It doesn't have, 3D touch or whatnot, but those are features that I could live without, because I have to have a giant phone to get most of those features, like image stabilization. Even the iPhone 6s does not have image stabilization. You have to go 6s Plus for that. And for a person who has an additional camera that they can carry around with them, that does better than a smartphone anyways, like, why worry so much about the quality of the camera in the smartphone when you can carry around a nice little camera that actually does better in recording photos and capturing video? So needless to say, some of the other things that I really enjoy about this phone is, once again, being able to use a phone single-handed. With the bigger phones, it becomes really hard to reach things up at the top corner, or to type things out one-handedly by having to reach all the way across the keyboard. When you're holding a phone this size, it's really hard to reach to the opposite side of the keyboard. Even though you can double tap on the home button and have the whole screen come down for better reachability, that doesn't help when you're typing. It just becomes a challenge. And I think that, the phones this size, the iPhone 6s Plus, or like the Nexus 6P, like phones that are that large, are just too big for everyday use, unless you are maybe more business minded, or business use case, where you're sitting and waiting for meetings, you're not moving too much, and you have the ability to just sit there and two-handedly use a phone. I found that, being that I run a business, I have 3 small children, I have stuff that I carry with me because of all of that. It's just much easier to have a smaller phone and be able to do this all one-handed. Worst case scenario, you can dictate into the phone just the same as any other phone and not have any problems. So for me, I think I'm going to try and stick it out on this iPhone SE. It has all the same horsepower and most of the same features as the bigger phones. It's a lot cheaper, and it's not going to get replaced, at least I hope, in a couple weeks when Apple, or in a month when Apple releases the iPhone 7, which doesn't seem to be too big of an upgrade anyways. So hopefully they keep a trend of some of these smaller phones. I know it looks weird. To be honest, I had a situation where I felt embarrassed about this phone when I was rocking the 16 gig. I had a meeting with a client and I wanted to show him a video, and I handed him my puny little phone, and I felt embarrassed there for a second because my phone was so small when I'm used to handing people something much larger, giving them a better viewing experience. But that all aside, that's what the iPad, I think, for me was created for. The iPad is a much better sharing, viewing experience. If you have time to be behind a device, the iPad is a much better option, or a tablet is a much better option. When you're out and about and you need portability, I think the phones are just getting too large these days. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I know everybody's gonna have a different opinion about this. We've definitely had discussions about it here in the office, and I seem to be the only one who thinks a small phone is better. And in some ways it is, and in some ways maybe it's not. But when we live in a world where the majority of us have multiple devices, I think the ones that we carry on us every day need to be smaller. I've taken that approach to my wallet even. I try to carry something much smaller as far as a wallet goes. I just don't like to have a lot of stuff that I have to carry around with me. And if you're the same, iPhone SE or the iPhone SE, I think is a great option. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. So thanks for checking out this video. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can get updates on more videos that we put out. And I'd just love to continue this conversation. Maybe there's something I'm not considering and I'd like to hear your take on it. So do that in the comments below, and we'll see you next time here on State of Tech.